What's up, guys? Welcome to a new day. I'm Stephanie Ryder, and this is the 365 Shares podcast. It's February 5th, 2024, and today's topic is recovery message. Today was a nice day for me. This was the 5-year anniversary of my first date with my partner. We went to the same restaurant that we went to on our first date. It was really nice. It's a Monday, so it was not crowded at all. There were only 2 other tables in there, and when they left, we had the whole restaurant to ourselves, which was really nice. And they were playing really great music, a lot of classic rock. Dinner was delicious. So it was just a really nice experience, very intimate. We didn't have to deal with a lot of people. We got served really quickly. It was just nice. We were there at maybe 10 of 7 or quarter to 7, and we were out by like 8:15. So it was just a really chill dinner. And then we came home and watched an episode of Next Level Chef, which is a show that we really like. We like a lot of cooking competition shows. And we went for a walk around my neighborhood because we were really full and did a couple of gratitudes for each other. He said he liked that I was a good cook. And I asked him what he likes that I cooked. And he said, I don't know, everything's been fine. Then he said that I make good soups and sandwiches. So there you go, guys. I make good soups and sandwiches. Come to me if you want a daytime meal cooked by a grandmother. And I told him that what I liked about him is that while we both have gotten a lot healthier over the past 5 years, his personality is still meaningfully the same in a good way. And he asked which personality, and I said all of them because he has a lot of personalities and I have a lot of personalities. We're Geminis. We are childhood trauma survivors. So you never know which one of us you're going to get. But I do like all of his, and he's got a couple that are really funny and a few that are really daring and brave. And then he has a really sweet, like snuggly inner child that I love. So that was kind of my day. But the topic for today is recovery message. And the passage from the Big Red Book says, hearing the message of recovery and hope from someone else fans the dim spark of aliveness we keep buried inside. I love this message. This is really why I'm doing the podcast. It's so helpful to me to talk through my problems. But if anyone who listens hears that there may be a path to healing and happiness and calm, that would be amazing. I really want people to know that there is hope for everyone. And my partner and I have both been in places where we were really at rock bottom multiple times in our life. We've had multiple rock bottoms with relationships, just you name it, craziness. But I always believed that healing would happen for us. And I really think healing can happen for anyone who's willing to be part of something bigger than themselves. I'm Steph, and this is my share. The affirmation for today from the Strengthening My Recovery book is, on this day, I will reach out to whomever I need to help me remember and work through the trauma of my past. If there is something that is blocking me, I will do my part and then ask my higher power to remove it from my path. I love talking about Gabrielle Bernstein because she shares in her book so much personal information, so many stories about what's worked for her, and all of her research that she's done, all the people that she follows, that she's worked with. My partner really loves listening to Joe Rogan. He has a lot of people on talking about health and wellness and stuff that I think didn't used to be something that was on a lot of guys' radars. And I think it's great that Joe Rogan is an example of sort of your typical bro, manly man guy who also cares about his sleep and his physical health and his testosterone and his emotional health and his relationships. I love Gwyneth Paltrow. I've always loved her, from movies to her transition into cookbooks and then to Goop. I read her first cookbook, My Father's Daughter, like it was an actual book. And in a lot of ways, I really taught myself to cook using her book. There were a lot of techniques that I hadn't experienced in cooking with my family of origin that I just practiced on over and over. There's a chicken and dumplings recipe in there that is my favorite thing to make. If you do it the right way, it takes all day. It's a ton of prep work. So you have to do your mise en place, cut a million carrots and leeks and celery and like whatever goes into it. Cut it up into pieces yourself, which I usually just buy the chicken pieces. And a few of the times that I've done it, it's come out absolutely perfect. I just always love making it. It always tastes delicious regardless, but sometimes it also like is perfectly browned and you get the right amount of liquid so it looks great, and you just take off the lid of whatever pot you made it in and it's a chef's kiss. And then obviously she does so much on wellness. I read a lot of her stuff about her relationship while I was with my ex-husband. He knew that I loved her, and one of our big fights, he went out because I was mad at him, and he came back with 2 magazines that she just happened to be on the cover of. And in one of the stories, she was still with her first husband, Chris Martin. They were asking her about marriage, and she was talking about how her parents had always said about marriage, their secret to staying together was that they never wanted to get divorced at the same time. And at the time, she was really committed to staying with Chris and being a family with their children who were really young. And at the time, I took that as just a message to keep trying, keep working on my relationship. And although my marriage didn't work out, I'm glad that I took that advice and just tried and gave it my all. This idea that you could get divorced in a humane way, be kind to your partner, and acknowledge that they were the parent of your children and that your children would not exist without this other person and that you loved each other at some point. And there was no reason to scorch the earth just because one or both of you wanted to move on. And as someone who came from a family of divorce that was the worst possible divorce that anyone could have, ending in basically bankruptcy and violence and just years of our lives lost and dedicated to this war zone of my parents going at it and never getting to a place where they agreed on anything in court and nothing was ever settled. It was and also myself growing up in a time when that was sort of the standard for divorces. There were movies like War of the Roses and Kramer versus Kramer. There was the Charles and Diana divorce. There was the Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger divorce, which is a knockdown drag out. And I don't even know if they're still on good terms. There was the OJ and Nicole Brown Simpson horror that I watched. My mom was obsessed with, and it was always on TV. And we lived in LA, so it was just like the only thing that was on TV for, it felt like years. So to have someone like Gwyneth Paltrow come out and say, hey, you can do this amicably, and you should try to, because it's better. And to get so much flack, but just to really stay strong with that message inspired me so much. And while I was separated and getting divorced, there were so many times when my ex did really shady things. He was trying to do a lot of things behind my back. He was lying to me about things. He sent me a few nasty messages, and I was so distraught. I was so much grieving our child and our relationship. And I so just wanted to lash back out at him and say, like, what the hell do you think you're doing? And, point out all the ways that he was wrong. And I just thought of my parents' divorce, and I thought of Gwyneth Paltrow, and I did this, like, what would Gwyneth Paltrow do mantra. And I would wait a few hours or a few days until I could compose myself. And I would always respond with something cordial, because I knew that he expected me to respond with something crazy. And he may have even been intentionally baiting me into losing it and writing something in an email that he could use against me. And I just didn't want anything like that to happen. At every turn where I could have escalated things, I tried to de-escalate them. I really tried my best to get him to change his mind. But when it became clear that he was not ever going to do that, I just said, let's move forward with it. Let's do something that we can both sleep with, and let's just do this in a way where we both can be done with it and we're not going to hurt each other any more than we already have. So I love this affirmation today. I love the passage from the Big Red Book talking about how hearing someone else's story might inspire us, might light a little spark inside of us of hope that if this other person who's gone through this other thing and they're well enough to drag themselves into this meeting and talk about it, then maybe we can survive the things that we have been through. So whatever you need to do to light that little pilot light of hope that we all have inside of us, open your ears, open your mind, let the universe bring you a story, a show, a song, a stranger telling you something. Take in all these messages and let them fan your flame of hope until it becomes action.